but millions of Americans are without power from Florida up to North Carolina. Unfortunately, a massive amount of flooding took place as the hurricane got stuck in the mountainous terrain of the Carolinas, leading to flooding and devastation in the area. During its landfall, Vice President Kamala Harris was holding a fundraiser in Los Angeles, California. She knew nothing about the storm, didn't really care what was going on, but was able to raise $30 million. However, Kamala Harris has now got a lot of backlash as she's supposed to be the president of the United States of America. And what is she doing? She's hobnobbing with celebrities instead of assisting President Biden in his efforts to get FEMA and aid and boots on the ground to help Americans that are trapped in this storm. Our thoughts and prayers are truly with these people. Now, meanwhile, former President Donald Trump was boots on the ground, raising awareness in North Carolina and also in Georgia, visiting devastated areas and coordinating behind the scenes with Elon Musk, the owner of Starlink Internet, in order to turn on internet in the area from Georgia all the way up the coast to North Carolina so that people can communicate with their loved ones, let the government know exactly what is needed so that we can help our fellow Americans that are struggling in this storm. Now, Trump is behaving more like a president than Biden or Harris, but that's who the people of North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida are having to deal with. In fact, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida had to tell Biden, don't send resources to Florida. Get them up to South Carolina and North Carolina. We were prepared for the storm. It's you in the White House that are not prepared for this devastation. Now, hopefully Elon Musk can get that internet in there quickly. On the other side of the political aisle, President Joe Biden vowed to visit North Carolina later this week. When asked by the press why neither he or Kamala Harris were in Washington during this torrential downpour, Biden stated, I was commanding. I was on the phone for at least 2 hours. And the day before that as well. It's called a telephone. So Biden swears that he is there on the ground, but through telephone, helping out as much as he can. Again, our thoughts and prayers are with these people. Now, here's where things get truly terrifying. And the media isn't really covering this as much because they've been focused on this terrible storm. But a massive labor union strike could break out as early as tomorrow. This strike would involve dock workers from dozens of major ports on the East Coast, as well as the Gulf of Mexico, Florida, Mississippi, and Louisiana, potentially grinding the U.S. economy down by $5 billion a day. This is not good. Most of our stuff is coming in through these ports. And now, just like we saw with the train strikes that made things more expensive, now we have dock workers and port workers saying, we're not working for these wages anymore. Now, if you think Biden has this situation under control, you better think again. And Kamala, she's not even paying attention. And to make matters worse, during an interview with CNBC, Biden's own Commerce Secretary, Gina Raimondo, literally claimed that she's not even focused on what's going on with this if it were to last longer than a week. This is going to be absolutely catastrophic. I'm not trying to do clickbait on this title. Everything could change starting tomorrow. And the first area that's going to be hit is the cost of fuel, moving natural gas, gasoline, oil around the country. And neither Biden, Kamala Harris, or Gina Raimondo are doing anything. She literally said, I'm not focused on this at all. This could be horrible. Let me roll a clip on what you could expect in the coming weeks because of these fools.
What happens if our seaports go on set for October 1st? So you better share this with everyone, because if our ports close, everything we depend on closes with it. Let's talk about what would happen within the month of October. On day one, international fuel shipments are the first to feel the impact. Crude oil tankers stuck offshore means no new fuel entering refineries. By the end of the day, concerns spread across industries as gas stations, trucking companies, and airlines brace for immediate shortages.
Listen, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but the United States has less than 30 days of diesel fuel in their reserves. And because of Kamala Harris and specifically Joe Biden, they have dropped our strategic petroleum reserve to the lowest it's been since the World War II era. And they were selling our oil to China instead of keeping it as an emergency. Let this gentleman continue.
Everything from fuel to imported goods is at risk, but fuel becomes the most critical loss. By day 3, gas stations are starting to run dry and rationing begins. Prices surge as demand skyrockets. Without fuel, trucks can't deliver goods, and the first shortages show up in grocery stores. Businesses relying on imported oil, like refineries, scramble to maintain operations with whatever reserves they have left. The ripple effect starts to hit home. No fuel means no transportation, and without transportation, the flow of goods stops. Day 7, the energy crisis takes hold. Within the first week, the impact of fuel shortage deepens. Trucks, trains, and ships that move essential supplies across the country slow to a halt. Agriculture and manufacturing are crippled, unable to operate without fuel for machinery and transportation. Airlines begin canceling flights, and public transportation services are cut. Gas prices hit all-time highs as panic buying intensifies. By week 2, the power grid struggles and collapse looms. Power plants that rely on imported fuel start to struggle, and blackouts spread as they ration what's left. People begin hoarding fuel, and chaos erupts at the pumps. The stock market plummets as industries reliant on global supply chains begin to crumble. The economy falters, and unemployment skyrockets as factories close and businesses shutter. By week 4, total breakdown of society. By the end of the month, the energy crisis and fuel shortages bring society to its knees. Cities erupt into fuel riots, and law enforcement is overwhelmed. With no fuel, food distribution collapses, and starvation becomes a real threat. Communities are left to fend for themselves as fuel reserves dry up completely, leaving transportation, emergency services, and the economy in ruins. Without ports, crude oil can't get in. Without crude oil, fuel can't be made. Without fuel, everything grinds to a halt. When the fuel stops, America stops. And just so we're clear, this could all happen within the month of October. AP out.
All right. When fuel stops, the country stops. Excuse me. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm letting you guys know to be prepared. Biden and Harris, they're not even paying attention to this. Now, remember how scary it was when we had the railroad workers strike and things started to become more expensive? Diesel went to $5 a gallon. Suddenly, groceries started to become more expensive. Well, they were in communication with the train people for months. They were working on this dock worker situation, these port workers. They're not even working on this. So again, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but this is starting tomorrow, October 1st. And this guy went down the ripple effect of one area. If fuel stops, America stops. Remember, for those of you that are old enough to remember during the Jimmy Carter era, you literally had to wait for hours in line, and then you were told by the government how many gallons of gas you could get. This is how bad things could become. Meanwhile, America's sitting on more fuel than Russia and Saudi Arabia, but they're not letting us pump it the way that we used to. We must become energy independent. We cannot have this going on. They're not paying attention to storms, and they're not paying attention to this economic storm. And the stock market is starting to worry about this. The talking heads on the money channels, they're starting to say, wait a minute, why isn't Biden negotiating with these people? Why isn't Kamala Harris dealing with these people? Because they don't care. They're literally planning beach vacations. Now, since Biden's own Commerce Secretary, Gina Raimondo, has said she's not interested in this or paying attention to it, it doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence that these guys are going to be able to resolve this quickly. So we're talking about a huge hit to our oil supply, potential shortages. Half of our pharmaceuticals come into America from China. Like I just want people to be aware of what could be coming by this weekend. so that you can get yourself prepared. But if these ports are closed for more than a couple of days, you're going to see backlash. You're going to see chaos. You're going to see things become expensive. All right. All right. Now, listen, this is one reason that I have joined forces with the wellness company. So while everyone is distracted about P. Diddy being a pervert, Mayor Adams being corrupt up in New York, 85,000 East Coast port workers are going on strike. Shocker. This is not really being talked about. 36 of the busiest ports are about to close. That's 49% of all of the imports. Now, we saw, Ron DeSantis, when we were having these issues in California, Florida said, hey, we'll take this and we'll start getting stuff into the country. Well, that might not be able to happen because some of these are down in the state of Florida. But what did we see in the last week? Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine walks in, and what does Biden do? He gives him $8 billion. So Biden cares more about Ukraine and getting our taxpayer money to Ukraine for a war that they're losing. Meanwhile, these port workers are furious. They're saying, wait a minute, we can't afford to feed our families. Inflation is out of control, and our wages are having issues. Now, here's the big question. Is this happening on purpose? Is Biden and Kamala Harris about to create a supply chain issue? I don't know, but it sure looks like they're not paying attention. And again, 80% of medication comes from overseas. So let me tell you about the wellness company. They have these emergency kits that have essential medications that you normally need a prescription for. You can get that and you can have this in your house. You can take care of staph, bite wounds, UTIs, strep throat, respiratory illness. No longer having to take days off to go wait in a doctor's office or go to the emergency room if you're super sick. This is what I call being prepared. Now, these are unprecedented times, and so I want you guys to be prepared. You can get these emergency kits, and if you use code AMAZING, you get $30 off. I'm going to pin a comment. Again, I'm not trying to scare anybody. This is real. This starts tomorrow. You can Google port worker strike, and you will find all kinds of information about this. Now, as chaos unfolds in the lead up to the 2024 election, the Federal Communications Commission gave permission for George Soros, the America-hating billionaire, to buy 200 radio stations. So he was going to be given permission to start the process. They've given him now permission to buy that. So welcome to Nazi Germany, where they control what we hear on the radio. And if that wasn't enough, we've got Hillary Clinton stepping into the spotlight. As the Clinton Global Initiative, she took a swipe at the media saying they're not doing enough to push this narrative, her narrative that Trump is a danger to democracy and a dictator. So what are we witnessing here, folks? An outright attempt to control our minds and the media like we've never seen before. If you thought 2016 was bad, it feels like 2024 is about to get worse. Now, House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer has just subpoenaed Biden's border chief, Alejandro Mayorkas, for more information regarding Kamala Harris's running mate, Tim Walz. Apparently, a whistleblower has come forward from Mayorkas' department saying that they have inside information that Tim Walz is directly connected to communist China and that he needs to be investigated. They say that they have enough information that now they want Alejandro Mayorkas to come forward. And after the vice presidential debate tomorrow night, they're most likely going to subpoena Tim Walz to come forward. These are not great people. I mean, this is absolutely crazy what we're living through right now. Now, this revelation comes just one day before Tim Walz is scheduled to debate J.D. Vance. While Trump claimed he will not be debating Kamala Harris again, he claimed he will be live reacting to the debate between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. He stated, "I will be doing a personal play-by-play on the debate tomorrow between the brilliant J.D. Vance and the highly inarticulate tampon Tim Walz." Now, Trump cracks me up, man. He is such a comedian. Are you planning? Let me know over in the comments, since this is a live video. Are you going to be watching the debate between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz? I will. I plan on watching it, and I'm hoping that J.D. Vance shows up. He is a bulldog. He loves America. He fights for America, and I'm excited. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of yeses. Yeah, just type Y if you're going to watch it, and N if you're not going to watch it. Looks like a lot of you are looking for. I mean, I'm telling you, I think he's going to mop the floor with this guy. This guy is not a great debater. J.D. Vance is a phenomenal debater, and I'm sure they're going to try to bring up the eating animals thing. They're going to try to bring up the fact that J.D. Vance didn't used to like Donald Trump, but guess what? His eyes were open, and he sees that Trump is needed in order to save America and make America great again. All right, lots of whys. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I love hearing from my community. All right, now Trump's economic advisor and Hispanic voter outreach expert, Steve Cortez, posted a clip from CNN over on his Twitter account. I was going to play it for you, but I'm being told by YouTube that it is copyrighted, and I don't want to get my channel in trouble. But even CNN is strongly indicating that the working class American voter is planning to vote to send Donald Trump back to the White House. President Trump is on track for the best performance among union voters in 40 years, according to CNN. Also, CNN says President Trump is up 31 points over Kamala Harris among trade school graduates. Man, you guys, I hope Donald Trump just absolutely wipes the floor, just crushes, absolutely dominates the Electoral College, and we get Joe Biden and communist Kamala Harris out of office. These guys are awful, absolutely awful. Everything is more expensive, and now we have a strike from dock workers and from port workers. You guys, these guys are not paying attention. They're going to really, really screw up America. But again, it all looks purposeful to me. Let me know in the comments. Type P if you think that this is all planned and purposeful. Unbelievable. Now, at this point, I think the only way Donald Trump loses is if you and I don't vote. And they're trying to frustrate us. The mainstream media is telling us things like Kamala Harris is winning. They're trying to use tactics to make you and I think we don't need to go out and vote. We do. We need to absolutely crush these people. We need them. We need a win that is too big to rig. Absolutely too big to rig. And send Kamala Harris back to California. You can live in San Francisco. We do not want you in Washington, D.C. We need to send Trump back to America for a new America to rise from the ashes of the Biden-Harris trash fire that we've all had to live through. It's unbelievable. All right, now in international news, Israel has continued to pummel Hezbollah in Lebanon. According to Israel, their recent strike killed Hezbollah leader Nasrallah and 20 other officials. Like, Nasrallah is the biggest leader in Lebanon. If you look up a picture of him, he's a guy with a gray beard. You would 100% recognize him. They just took him out with their latest strike. In response, President Biden has called for restraint and for a ceasefire, but Israel is not paying attention to Biden. They don't trust Biden. They don't believe that America has their backs. So they are doing everything they can to secure a free Israel. Now, it's likely that Israel wants full control of Gaza, but Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is not going to allow that to happen. So what will likely happen next is a ground invasion, and that's exactly what happened. Just before I went live with you guys, I got a message from my team saying Israel is now boots on the ground in Lebanon, and this war is amplifying. So these two countries, they're not going to agree to a ceasefire. They absolutely want to destroy each other. It's very sad, very, very sad. But Israel is not going to stop this, regardless of what Kamala Harris or Joe Biden says. All right, now let me recap a couple of big headlines today, and then I've got a final message from President Donald Trump. Kamala Harris says she suffered from insomnia after Joe Biden endorsed her, and that she was sleep deprived the morning she chose running mate Tim Walz. Now, why would she say that in an interview? Let me know over in the comments. Do you think that she regrets picking Tim Walz? Like, she literally said in an interview, I was sleep deprived, I had insomnia, and that was the morning that I chose him. Like, how embarrassing. Can you imagine if Donald Trump said, listen, the day I picked JD Vance, I was just so exhausted, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, type R if this lady has regret, right? She is living with regret. Now, listen to this. The New York Times says that they have endorsed Kamala Harris for president, claiming that she is the only patriotic choice. Oh my gosh, she's not a patriotic choice. She doesn't even love America. I don't even know if she likes America. And then the New York Times is saying that she is the only patriotic choice. Give me a break. Did you see this one? California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill stopping authorities from requiring ID in order to vote in California. What is going on? I mean, who cares? Like, sorry, California. I know that a lot of you watch me, and thank you for doing that. You're the #2 state in America that watches the Stephen Gardner show, but your governor sucks. Like, you guys are never going to break out from being a Democrat prison because, look, your governor just banned ID. Unbelievable. Kamala Harris is on track to be the worst performing Democrat in generations to union workers. Trump calls for Kamala Harris to be impeached and prosecuted for her action on the southern border, more like her inaction. Let's hear what President Donald Trump had to say, because I completely agree with what he is proposing.
What Kamala has done with illegal migrants is the biggest crime story of our time, because hundreds of thousands of people are going to be victims very shortly. It's happening. We had many of them yesterday. We had this incredible event. We had many of the parents of victims at the event. We had one or two that spoke. It's impossible almost for them. Their lives are destroyed, just so you understand. Their daughters were killed. Their lives are destroyed. Their sons are killed. And they were killed by migrants that came in illegally that were so vicious, like you've never seen before. Already hundreds of people have been murdered because of her action at the border, and thousands more will follow in rapid succession. She should be impeached and prosecuted for her actions. And these killers are stone cold monsters and have so little heart. They have no heart. They really have no heart. Worse than anything you can see on television. You know, you look at the mob pictures, the gangster pictures, the drug dealer pictures. These people are far worse. There's nobody in Hollywood like this. You can't get people like this. You'll see that in a second. And they don't care when or who they kill. They wake up the following morning, they don't even remember. So it's just like a routine part of life. And they're in our country now. They don't even think about it.
All right, he went on, but I'm going to stop it there out of respect for your time. Let me know over in the comments is former President Donald Trump right? What Kamala Harris has done on the border is one of the largest crimes in American history. She needs to be impeached. She needs to be prosecuted. He wants her brought before a tribunal and prosecuted. Do you agree with this? Type Y or write yes. I think he's right. Look how many people, 400,000 plus criminals allowed in, over 25,000 murderers, rapists. The amount of women and children being trafficked. They don't know where hundreds of thousands of children are. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of good immigrants. I'm not trying to, talk evil about immigrants. Most of these people are good. They've just been tricked into coming up here by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But Trump is right. There are monsters in the country. If you didn't see my video from last week with former CIA, J. Michael Waller, he talks about the torture that these gangs do, how they take over cities. I mean, she needs to be impeached as vice president, and I think she needs to be brought before a tribunal so that a court can determine whether she needs to be prosecuted. This is a crime. This is an absolute crime what she has done. Looks like a lot of you guys agree with former President Donald Trump. Yep, she needs to be impeached, removed from the office of vice president. There's no way she should be president. It's going to get worse. You think 15 million is bad with 400,000 criminals and 25,000 murderers? She's going to crack her knuckles and say, come on in, bring them all in. She's going to do way more than 15 million. All right, let me read some super chats here. 4-hour live, but can't miss. Thank you so much. David, my daily contributor. Thank you so much. You buy me a drink every day. I appreciate that. You should be calling them all in and filing charges for treason. The whole administration. I agree. It's absolutely crazy what these people have done. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. I appreciate the super chat. I saw an ad that suggested it was better to stay home than vote for Trump. Are you kidding me? That's exactly what they want, Carla. No, we got to get out. We want the biggest numbers we've ever seen. Did you guys know that there are now more registered Republicans than Democrats for the first time in like 60 or 70 years, something like that? Absolutely crazy. I mean, this populist movement, I'm so excited, but we got to get these guys out. Biden, dude, the guy's not even paying attention. There is a massive strike, bigger than the train workers strike, starting tomorrow, and this guy's planning a beach vacation in Delaware. All right, Jason says she did choose Trump, the establishment did. I think you meant to say she didn't choose Tim Walz, the establishment. Yeah, of course she didn't choose him. The deep state, the ones that are trying to put her into office. The FBI, the CIA, Mockingbird Media, they are all trying to put Kamala Harris into office. But we have got to put Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, the entire cabinet. You guys have seen the guests I bring on. Hundreds of executive orders. They will reverse the border crisis immediately. People will stop coming to the border. People will go home because they're afraid of what Trump will do. And then they have vowed to round up 1 million illegal immigrant criminals and get them the heck out of our country. I cannot wait for November 6th when we find out that Donald J. Trump is president, and then we've got to get these guys out. So Trump wants Nancy Pelosi prosecuted for insider trading, and now Kamala Harris for treason and invading the United States of America with illegal immigrants. Hey, I love you guys. Please, if you could, give this video a like. It helps me more than you know because it tells YouTube and Rumble to share. So please, that would be very, very helpful. Also, hit that subscribe button. Let's see. Somebody just said something. Save your gas. and get to the poll. That's good advice. Hey, I love you guys. Thank you so much. And I will see you on the next video.